шелесті трав, щебетанні дібру, і на тім рушничкові поживе все знайомий до болю, і вихисла розлука, і вірна любов.
Hi everyone, my name is Olga and I'm a virtual tour guide in Kiev, Ukraine. Virtual because if you want to see Ukraine but you can't travel here personally, you can book one of my virtual tours or you can join my live streams, weekly live streams here on YouTube. And today I'm going to show you something special. This is Saint Sophia Cathedral. This is the place where more than 1,000 years of Ukrainian history is hidden. It's so magnificent. It's the pearl of Ukrainian Baroque architecture. It's all about art, it's all about history, and it's all about peace. Let's go and find out the history of this amazing temple. And we will explore this magnificent place, the garden around Saint Sophia Cathedral, the magnificent bell tower, and the cathedral itself. So we came into the courtyard of Saint Sophia Cathedral, and during this long history of its existence, Saint Sophia Cathedral survived many invasions, robberies, the destructions, alterations, and now it's just magnificent, beautiful place. It's very quiet, it's very peaceful and very ancient. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. As you can see, it is surrounded by the garden and it has a spacious territory, but it's always so tranquil and beautiful. It's Ukrainian pearl, Saint Sophia Cathedral. It was designed by the analogy of Hagia Sophia of Constantinople. And Saint Sophia Cathedral in Kiev symbolizes the new Constantinople, the capital of the Christian land in Kievan Rus. That was created in the 11th century, and it's situated in the very city center. It was built with the participation of the Byzantine masters, because back then people here in the Slavic lands couldn't build such beautiful things. They didn't have technologies. And the local business were helping the Byzantine masters during the great period of rule of Prince of Kiev, Yaroslav the Wise. That is the great bell tower. It's 76 meters high. It has 4 tiers and beautiful moldings. The whole territory is stunningly beautiful. According to the chronicles, the construction began during the reign of Prince Vladimir the Great at about 1011. But his son Yaroslav the Wise completed Saint Sophia Cathedral in 1037. And it was built in the site of the victorious battle where Kiev residents, they defeated the Asian nomadic tribes. They were called Pecheniks. They really caused a lot of trouble, and that was the final battle which took place here. And when they stopped the raids, Yaroslav the Wise decided to build such a beautiful cathedral to honor Hagia Sophia. The name Sophia derives from the Greek word and means holy wisdom. Back then, this became the biggest building in Kiev. But for Yaroslav the Wise, it wasn't just the church. It was the kind of a part, his instrument of power. He wanted to assert the state power of Kievan Rus, and that is why such a grandiose project was implemented. You can see that it is built with a plinth. Plinth, this is the flat, baked brick, and it was the building material in the Byzantine architecture. Golden Gate and Sophia Cathedral, they were built with this technology, with plinth brick, and they are intertwined with the bigger stones. Actually, there were not so many stones back then on these lands in the 11th century, and at the time of the construction, Yaroslav the Wise decided to introduce a new tax in Kiev. Those who were entering the city on the cart, they had to pay with the stones, and then the cart was allowed to enter the city. Let's go a little bit closer and I will show you this ancient prototype of bricks. You will see the plinth, that is the very flat and narrow bricks, and they are mixed with the bigger stones. It's the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's a very symbolic monument because for centuries it's been the main shrine of the Kievan Rus, and that was the place of wisdom, of harmony, and it was also the place which was glorifying the state. It was showing the wisdom, the richness, the generosity of the people who lived here. It wasn't just the main church in Kievan Rus, but it was also a very important political and educational center because the coronation ceremonies happened here, the official meetings with the foreign ambassadors were held here, and the international agreements were signed. The first school in Kievan Rus was opened on the territory of Sophia Cathedral. The library was created by Yaroslav the Wise. It was located here, and we are still looking for it. So who knows where it disappeared. But over the long history, it survived many destructions and plunders, but miraculously it survived up to now, and nowadays we can enjoy this beautiful temple. The worst invasion, the worst stroke happened here in the 13th century, 1240, when the Mongol Tatars under the command of Batı Khan invaded Kiev, and Batı Khan was the grandson of Chinggis Khan. And back then Kiev had about 50,000 inhabitants. But just 2,000 people remained alive, and it took 600 years for the city of Kiev to return to that number of population. Back then, in the 13th century, Kiev was one of the biggest cities in the world. And it's such a pity that so many people were killed, and it took centuries to regain that level of life. And in the 17th century, Sophia Cathedral began to be restored. And that was the time when the exterior was changed, because initially Sophia Cathedral was built in Byzantine style. So it was brown. It was the color as you see here on these walls. They are not kind of covered by the white plaster. But in the 17th century, they made the restoration, and the major contribution to the restoration was made by the Orthodox leader. His name was Peter Mahila, and in 1633 he commissioned the whole repair work, and that kind of exterior was rebuilt in the Ukrainian Baroque style. So the exterior changed a lot over the centuries, but the interior remained authentic, and the interior is really strikingly beautiful because inside there are many rare mosaics. They were created by the Byzantine artists in the 11th century, and today there are about 260 square meters of mosaic and 3,000 square meters of frescoes, and they are very ancient, so there are probably like better collections of mosaics in Italy somewhere, but they are not as old as the collection of Saint Sophia. And also the best known mosaic is the 6-meter tall mosaic of Virgin Mary. It's called Aranta. It's made of glass and the stone plates, and they have 177 shades. These stone plates, they are actually very small, about 1 to 1 centimeter, and they are very tightly pressed into the fresh plaster. This is how it was created. And here we have the legend about Virgin Mary. She is depicted without baby Jesus, and the image of Mother Oranta, the image of Virgin Mary, is one of the greatest sacred symbols in Ukraine. It is called Indestructible Wall, and there is the superstition in Kiev saying that Kiev stands till Aranta exists. And the legend tells us that as long as Virgin Mary is extending her arms over Kiev, the city will stand indestructible. So I hope that it will stand centuries and centuries indestructible. There are many galleries inside, and on the walls you will see the religious scenes, and you will see the kind of different secular scenes. They were depicting how Yaroslav the Wise and the members of his family were living and what they were doing. And also St. Sophia Cathedral was the burial place for the Kievan princes, because the tomb of Yaroslav the Wise and his wife, they remained inside even until today. The tomb was opened several times, and when they opened it in 2009, they wanted to make some kind of genetic examination. They found out that there is no remains of Yaroslav the Wise. The remains are absent in the sarcophagus. Unfortunately, they were lost or stolen, because over the period of time, a couple of times they opened the sarcophagus, and probably in 1943 they were taken out. There are some rumors that the skeleton of Yaroslav the Wise is kept in the US. There is the Church of the Holy Trinity in New York, and the remains of Yaroslav the Wise, along with their icon of Nicholas the Vat, are kept in this church. So please let me know in the comments if you are from New York, or visit this church and let me know, but because this information cannot be verified. Now it's a national museum. There is no church services held inside. You can just buy a ticket and go and see the beautiful mosaics. And during the Soviet regime, St. Sophia Cathedral was under the threat of destruction, but it was saved several times, and even it was saved by the French embassy. Because Princess Anna, who was the daughter of Yaroslav the Wise, she was also the wife of French King Henry I. And France remembers about that. You can see other buildings in the area. I have shown you the bell tower, and that is the house of Metropolitan. I will show you now. So he was working and living here, the Metropolitan. There are bags of sand. They are protecting the small statues on the territory of the garden. Yaroslav the Wise had a great love for books, and he translated a lot of the books into Slavic language. And St. Sophia Cathedral has that famous library. At that time, people were writing on them kind of pieces of the skins of calves, of sheep, and it took a lot of animals, just a flock of animals, to make one book. And the covers of the books were decorated by the diamonds, gold and emeralds and pearls. So the tracers of the library disappeared. Probably Mongol Tatars conquered Kiev and they stole the library. It's very relaxing retreat from the hustle and bustle of the city. And there is so much history beneath the surface of the architecture. It's so impressive from all the angles. And of course, it shouldn't be missed when you're visiting Kiev. This place is really very beautiful. It's always very quiet, very peaceful, and very ancient. And that was the church that probably is the oldest surviving church of the Kievan Rus. And the interior is intact. It hasn't changed much, but from the outside you see that it has changed the color. Now it is white, but from this in some places you can see that the plaster work was removed, and you can see the original stones, like here for example, the original brickwork, it can be seen. So if you have time, you can also climb up the bell tower, and that will give you the great views. It could be tricky for those who are afraid of heights, but I hope that you are not afraid of heights. There is the time of lilac blossoming. It gives the magnificent smell. So the scent of lilacs, the birds are flying, and there are signs of the wars, the hint of the war. When you go outside of St. Sophia Cathedral, you might see the sad faces of the people, you might notice the funerals, you might hear air raid alerts. It's still here. The war has not won yet, it's not over yet, but we are close to it. It's very beautiful, and I'm so happy that during the Mongol destruction they spare it. And there is even a legend that when the Mongolians came inside St. Sophia Cathedral, the figure of Virgin Mary turned back the arrow of the Mongols, and that somehow persuaded them to leave the church intact and not to ruin that. It almost certainly that the commanders like Batey Khan, he was standing here inside this mighty cathedral, and the walls remember everything. There are centuries of history to discover behind the stones. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please subscribe to my channel, like it, and thank you if you are supporting me on Buy Me a Coffee platform. Please send this link to one of your friends or your colleagues, because the places in Ukraine are magnificent and I want to share them with the world. Thank you, and see you next time. Слава Україні!